Hi, Yinsters. So today we're going to go through a Yin Yoga class, and if you've never taken Yin before or not in a while, then I have an intro to Yin video that I recommend watching. So it'll go through some of the props that we'll be needing. Today we'll definitely need either a yoga blanket or just a regular blanket, a couple of them. So if you don't have a bolster, definitely grab like a nice stack of blankets. Blocks can also be nice. If you don't have blocks, that's okay. You can grab a couple of books or just add some additional pillows, right? So we can get like a lot of big pillows and stuff like that. And yeah, we're just gonna kind of get started right away. So our first pose today is going to be a supported fish pose. And so there's two different ways that we can do this. So the first way is to set it up with blocks. But if you don't have blocks, we're gonna use a blanket. So we're gonna take a blanket that's about as long as the spine-ish, right? So something sort of like this, and we're gonna roll it. So we'll take our blanket and we'll start to make our little roll. And then we'll lie that blanket down onto the mat, and we're gonna sit just in front of it, and then just allow our spine to lie right onto that blanket. Okay, so this is one way that we can come into supported fish pose. Another way, if you have blocks, if you want a little bit more, even if you do have blocks and you just want a little bit something gentle, the blanket is nice. Or if you have blocks and you want to make it a little bit more intense, we can do that too. So we'll take one block at the top of our mat for the head. Maybe you put a blanket on top of that. You can also use a pillow or your bolster. And then we can also take our second block. So I like the block on its second height, and I like it like that so that it can kind of massage the muscles around the spine. So if you have the blocks, and that can be nice, you can also turn the block down so that it's on its lower height. So the way that this block is gonna go is it's gonna line up, moving the hood, around this area, right? So I like to set it up so that these bottom two parts of the block are lining up kind of right underneath the shoulder blades, right? So I tend to have a lot of knots there, a little bit of pain, and so having the block kind of pressing in there feels really good on my back. But we'll kind of figure it out. It should be up between your shoulder blades. And so allow yourself to sit down. Our bum is going to stay on the ground the whole time, and then we'll use the elbows to help ease us back and make sure that the block is lining up straight. So I came down on this. This is not straight. This is not feeling good. So we have to adjust, right? Getting it to the space where you want. If you have a hood on, move that hood out of the way and then let the head rest back. So if it feels like your throat is ripping open, take something underneath the second block, right? Like a pillow, kind of maybe a blanket, right? Just kind of giving a little bit more lift. And so bring the arms out wide to a T so we get really big opening across the chest. And then with the legs, do what you'd like. So I tend to like the soles of my feet touching, knees wide. But you can also have the soles of the feet on the floor, knees fall in, or legs extended. Today, legs extended happens to feel good for me. So this is where I'm going to kind of hang out and start to feel your breath. Feeling any resistance in the body. Noticing if the muscles on your back are kind of relaxing into the block or if they're fighting against it. Whatever you notice, just stay with it. If you felt that resistance, then start to just take some breaths there, right? Allowing some big, deep breaths to help ease the muscles to soften around the block. Notice what's happening in the mind today, what the quality of the thoughts might be like. Noticing if you can maybe allow some of the thoughts to just go on pause, right? So noticing them, being with them, and redirecting attention to the sensation in the body. Letting the toes relax, the fingers relax, the jaw. out here for about 5 to 7 more full deep breaths. When you're ready, we'll start to bring the soles of the feet to the floor. And decide which side you want to roll off onto, and then when you're ready, we're rolling off the blocks or rolling off the blanket and finding our way to a fetal pose. So just allowing yourself to pause here, feel the spine, what it's like to come off the blocks or the blanket of that open heart pose. I love starting class with our big open hearts. On an inhale, we'll start to use the hand as support and the breath in to help lift us up to a seat. Welcome, yogis. And so our next pose is going to be a seated forward fold. And so we're going to take all the props that we need. Something I like to kind of use, the forward fold will always pretty much get into the hamstrings, right? But I like to also get into the low back. And so if you have really tight hamstrings, take your little blanket roll. Maybe you don't roll it quite as much, right? A smaller roll. Maybe it's a nice big one. And we'll bring that underneath the knees, right? And it kind of just helps to force a little bit of a bend. And we can let the feet separate a little bit, the toes separate, and we'll sit up nice and tall. And then take some props, right? So your bolster or your stack of blankets. And we'll bring that on top of the legs. So here we'll take a breath and sit up nice and tall, lift the arms. Exhale, heart goes towards the end of the bolster. And when you're like, this is as far as I go, we'll tuck the chin. And so if the bolster's still really far away from where your forehead needs to be, we can take extra support, right? Another blanket, a pillow, a block. Finding your way to a space where you can be here for a while, right? We're going to be in this forward fold for a while. And let your breath come into your back body. So as you take a breath in, feeling the air filling into the back, right? Letting those muscles that we were just really pressing into expand and open. Let your fingers soften your toes. Let the bottom jaw melt away from the top. Let the shoulders, if they've crept up to your ears, let them melt back, right? We don't have to reach for anything here. Just let yourself be. Finding stillness. Noticing that urge to fidget if you got it, right? It's okay. If you need to move, make your moves. You start to feel like you need to go in a little deeper. You can push your props a little further away, right? Let yourself fold in deeper. And if you're starting to feel like, I'm starting to feel stiff and not so great, pull the props in a little closer, right? We don't have to be leaning in so far to our fold, right? So check in with your body and notice if you need any adjustments, right? Take those adjustments and we'll come back to that still place. Letting go of any muscles clenching, of the trying, of the doing, and just let yourself receive this beautiful stretch. We'll take about 5 to 7 more full, deep, slow rounds of breath. On your next breath in, we'll start to slowly, gently walk ourselves up to a seat. Let your head be the last thing to lift up. And we'll take a counter pose here. So moving the props out of the way just for a moment. And we're going to take a reverse tabletop as our counter pose today. So we'll bring your hands back behind your hips. Bring the soles of the feet to the floor. Knees stack over the heels. And we'll take a breath in and start to press into the hands, press into the feet, lift the hips. So it's okay to just kind of do a gentle lift, right? It's also okay here to take a nice big lift and really press the hips up in line with your knees. And maybe you keep your chin to your chest, or maybe you let the head fall back. I like to take movement on my counter poses, a little sway, a little rock, but maybe you find stillness better, right? What does your body call for? One more breath in. And exhale, soften the hips, tuck the chin. Good job. And our next pose is going to be Supta Baddha Konasana. So here the soles of our feet will touch. And we'll sit up nice and tall. And so here the feet don't have to come in super close to your body because remember we're going to be here for a while. So you might let the feet come out. You can always pull them in closer and you can always push them further away as well. So here we're going to take our bolster or your stack of blankets, your pillow, whatever you got, and I like to rest it onto my feet. And so you can pull this bolster or your stack of blankets into your body as close as you want to, but just remember that if it's really close to your belly, it might be hard to fold forward. So I like a little bit of space, right? And we'll sit up nice and tall, maybe bringing hands to the shins to help inch the heart up, inch the crown of the head up. Take a breath in. Exhale, imagine your heart goes to the end of the bolster, and when you get to a space and you're like, ooh, this is enough, we'll pause, tuck the chin. If you need more height than what you've got, take that extra height, right? A folded up blanket, a block, whatever you need. And start to come back to this process of slowly surrendering into the pose, right? Slowly letting all the muscles relax. If it starts to feel like this is too much on your hips, you can take your blocks as well here and bring them underneath the sides of your knees. So at this point, you should kind of be able to feel like, I'm not going to be able to be here for so long. So use the props, right? Folded up pillows work great there as well. And so we'll just start to kind of melt into our pose wherever that may be. Again, we have this beautiful opportunity to take some big breaths into our back bodies, of feeling free to take some big, full breaths here, inflating the lungs into the back. And so here we'll start to notice anywhere that it feels like we're kind of gripping, right? We're holding on in certain spaces. So for me, I notice it's like today my right hip is kind of feeling like it's like a little stuck, right? And so we'll bring our attention and our breath to any places in our body where it feels like it's just holding on really tight, and let the breath really work for you here. So as we take a breath in, imagining the air is filling that space in our body, right? So if it's not a place that our lungs can physically inflate into, just imagining, right? Imagining as we breathe in that tight space is filling with air. And as we breathe out and let the breath go, letting go of some of the grip, right? Some of the tension. Noticing if you find a little bit of surrender here. And continuing to do that over and over. Inhale, breathe into that space of tension. Exhale, let some of it go. If you've noticed that your ears have crept up to the shoulders, gently let them fall away. Let the jaw relax, separating the teeth so our tongue can float between our teeth. Our lips are seals, but our teeth are apart. We're taking about 5 to 7 more full deep breaths wherever you are. We'll use our next breath in to help slowly crawl us back up to a seat. Beautiful. And so from here, we're going to start to make our way onto our belly. So you can move your props away for now. And we will gently make our way to the belly. And so we're going to come in towards Sphinx pose. So you might want to have a block near you if that's something that you are using today as a prop. So sometimes having both of them can be helpful. And so we're coming to a Sphinx pose, but not a super active one like we would do in a vinyasa class, but a very passive Sphinx pose. So we're going to line up the shoulders and the elbows, right? So we want to make sure that the hands aren't really close in together and they aren't really far apart, right? They're pretty much underneath the shoulders. And we're going to have here, the fingertips will rest on the mat, but gently, right? And we'll start to lift through the heart. So we are having some activation in the shoulders and the back. But what we want to do is let the glutes relax, right? Let the legs relax. And just let the sensation be in the shoulders. So you might keep your head lifted here. You might just kind of start to let the head gently hang, right? It can feel nice to just kind of be in a more passive head, neck, right? So the neck muscles are passive, but the shoulders are still active, right? The shoulders are still rolling back. The heart is still lifting up, but the glutes are soft. Another thing we can do here, if you do have the blocks and you want to, is take a block and give yourself a nice place to rest your forehead. If you're sick of having your head down in the chin tucked, you can also take a block on top of that one and maybe make a little space to rest your chin. So finding what feels the best for you. Today I think having my forehead resting on the block is what feels good for me. So allowing yourself to take what you need, right? Remembering to roll the shoulders back, soften the glutes. if you can just feel your belly pressing into the earth as you breathe in and out. Sensing the shoulders, the back bend. And take about 5 to 7 more full deep rounds of breath wherever you are. And your next inhale, slowly peel the head up if it was hanging down. Press the knee props away, and we're going to come into a seal pose. So we'll take our hands and point the fingertips towards the corners of the mat. As you breathe and press into the hands, lift the forearms. So you might stay here, you might walk the hands in a little closer, but keep your fingertips pointing away from each other. Let the heart really peel through the upper arms and then soften the glutes again. Lift through the crown of the head, peel the shoulders down. And we're just going to take this as a little shorter pose, and we're going to add a little bit of movement. Take a breath in. As you exhale, gaze to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, gaze to the left. Inhale, center. Exhale, let your right ear melt to your right shoulder. Ah. Exhale, circle the chin to the chest. Nod the head, yes. Shake it now. And then let the left ear circle to the left shoulder. Ah. Peeling the right shoulder down and back. And exhale the head to center. Take a breath in, lift the head. And exhale, soften all the way onto your belly. Ah, just taking a moment to feel that mid-back bend. Beautiful. And so from here, we're going to come into a frog pose. So we'll take our right knee and start to bring it in line with our right hip. So the inner knee is resting on the earth. The heel's in line with that right knee, right? So hopefully you can see it. Right? And we'll let the arms cactus out to the side as well. So it's like we have this frog leg and our frog arm, and then we'll turn the head. Maybe you keep looking to the right, or maybe to add a little bit of a stretch here, you look to the left. And again, just soften into this pose, right? Really let yourself just be here. Releasing the glutes, the hips, the thighs. And completely softening into the mat. Maybe you feel your heartbeat. Feeling the inhales against your mat, the exhales. And then letting go. we'll take about 5 to 7 more full deep breaths. And we'll start to extend that right leg back long down the mat. And switching sides. So bending, moving any props out of your way. And here bending that left knee. Bringing the inner knee to the mat. And resting the arms in our goalpost arms. Softening again the glutes, the hips, the thighs. Surrendering. Letting go, noticing if you can let go in your face a little bit, if there's any tension in your face, softening it here. Coming towards stillness, towards just being. Again, always staying really present to the thoughts, right? Noticing there's some crazy thoughts in your mind and just allowing yourself to hear them, to be with them. And redirecting our attention to the sensation in the body, to the breath. Always acknowledging the thoughts as they come. And we'll take 5 to 7 more breaths. As we inhale, we'll extend that leg back out long. And from here, we're flipping right onto, actually, before we flip onto our backs, we're going to start to press up onto our hands. We'll stretch the arms out in front of you. Press into the palms. Lift the heart for a second, feeling again into that spine. And then we'll take our right arm and thread the needle. So we're going to pull that arm across the body. And we might bend the left arm to make a little pillow for the face. If that doesn't feel great, we can use our blocks here. So you can take a block and bring it underneath the right chin, or cheek rather, and then maybe you even take a block for this left hand, right? So it can help you to keep from kind of dropping too much weight into this right shoulder. But if it feels okay in your body, if it feels like you can kind of take that, all of your weight on the shoulder, then just let yourself use the arm as a pillow and soften, let go. We'll take about 5 to 7 more full, deep rounds of breath. As you inhale, start to lift the head, stretch the arms back down in front of you. And we're switching sides, threading the needle with the left arm, coming back to our little arm pillow or pillow of blocks, or maybe an actual pillow. Just letting yourself soften, releasing into the pose. Let those glutes soften, let the low back relax, and just be here. And we'll just take about 5 to 7 more breaths. And your next breath in, lifting the head. And we're just going to roll over onto our back. So if your arms are already kind of crossed weird like this, you can just easily roll over. And coming onto our backs, as you arrive here, just kind of pull the knees in towards your chest. Take a little sway. Swaying the knees, maybe you draw circles one way, circles the other way. Just feeling into the spine, the low back, the mid back, upper back. Done a lot of work with our spine today. And from here, we're just twisting to the right. So the easiest twist, the one that I teach oftentimes, is to cactus or T, the left arm to the left, and then exhale, let both knees fall to the right. If you're feeling though today like you need something deeper, you can cross the left leg over the right and then let the legs fall. If you're feeling like even this twist is too much, something we can do here is take a blanket between the knees and then let the knees rest. You can even bring a prop underneath this right knee as well, right? So finding all of the amount of props and space that you need and taking that here. So you might be gazing to the ceiling, you might be looking to the left, and just let yourself melt. Right, letting go of the muscles kind of working against the twist here. Let the muscles soften and really twist in as much as you can. Breathing deep. Really noticing what it's like to just be and breathe here. And take about 5 to 7 more full deep breaths. And on your next breath in, bringing the knees back up. Maybe just gently letting the knees sway side to side, and we'll set up for the second side. So the right hand will tee your cactus out to the right, and we'll exhale the knees over to the left. And so again, if you want to do the cross of the legs, that's cool here. If you want a block or a blanket underneath the knees, that works. So you can just stack. And maybe you gaze to the sky or you gaze over to the left. And letting go. Right, as we first enter the twist, noticing where there's spaces that feel maybe like you're kind of holding on, right? We usually kind of begin with some spaces where it's like, oh, we're really holding back here. The muscles aren't allowing us to twist. And see if you can just soften. Noticing the breath, where it's filling into, maybe where it's struggling to fill into. And staying really present to your own self. Allow your breath to grow deeper, 5 to 7 more breaths. As you inhale, we'll bring our knees back to center. And maybe finding that little rock sway side to side. Good, and then just keeping the hands on the shins, right hand, right shin, left hand, left shin. Pull the knees in and out. Yeah, letting the feet separate as well, and just finding a gentle rock from side to side. Maybe preparing for a bit of a happy baby if you want to grab the outer edges of the feet, or maybe you just stay with the shins. And again, finding just a little rock from side to side. We won't be here for super long. It just can feel nice to come here after a twist. Maybe you settle into stillness for 10 to 15 breaths. You can start to add a little bit more movement if that feels good. And when you're ready, we're just gonna let the soles of the feet come back to the mat. And from here, we're gonna take a supported bridge pose. So you can use your blocks. If you don't have blocks, stacked up blankets is gonna be your best friend here. And so we'll inhale, press into the feet, lift the hips, slide the block under your sacrum. So maybe it's the lowest height, maybe it's a higher height, maybe again it's a big stack of blankets. And then find a nice place to rest your hands. My go-to tends to be right hand belly, left hand heart, but sometimes arms above the head feels nice, or just arms out extended by your side. So figure out what feels good for you and pause there. We began our class with an upper back bend, and we had some mid back bendings, and now I'm just feeling this really low back bend. What do you notice? Where are you maybe still holding on to? Just taking about 5 or so more full deep rounds of breath. if you have your block on anything other than the lower settings, turn it down, right? Keep it nice and low on your sacrum, right? A little closer to the bum than the back. And we'll kind of grip that block, or if you have your blankets, you can just keep your blankets exactly as they are. And we'll start to just lift the legs. So we're coming into a waterfall pose, legs up the wall variation. And so here, just letting the legs float and relaxing, right? So if it feels like it's a challenge to keep the legs up, you might just need to adjust where the block or the blankets are, right? It should feel like it's pretty easy to just keep the legs lifting. And so let the fingertips soften, even if they're wrapped around the blocks. Let the belly relax. And you can stay here for as long as you'd like. When you start to feel ready to make your way to Shavasana, we're just letting the feet come down to the mat, removing the prop, and then getting ready for Shavasana. And for me, that's going to mean bringing this bolster underneath my knees. So I love to have support for my low back under the knees. So I'll take my bolster. If you're feeling chilly, you can take a blanket over your body, right? We're going to get really cozy here, especially in the comfort of our home. And so if you have another pillow or blanket that you want to use for your head, you can take that, right? Today I'm just going to kind of use my blanket as I'm getting a little chilly. So allowing the feet to fall away from each other still and easing onto the back. And then letting the hands come by your side. Let the palms face up and give yourself space between the hands and the body. And so you might even kind of press down into the elbows, puff up your heart, and then tuck the shoulder blades underneath you so that they're flush to the floor. We have a nice big expansion across the chest, right? And then letting yourself ease into the mat. Letting the mat hold you, cradle you. Melting and softening in. Shavasana. free in your own home to pause this video and stay in Shavasana for as long as your heart desires. If you're ready to come out, you can find a wiggle of your fingers, toes, maybe a gentle rock of the head from side to side. Finding movement in ankles and wrists. Maybe you stretch the arms up for a nice full body stretch. Wiggling where you want to wiggle. Yeah. When you feel ready, we'll start to bring the feet in, the knees in, and then rock onto your favorite side for fetal pose. One last time. Taking a pause. Preparing to use the hand and the breath in to help slowly process up to a seat. And here we'll start to just let the eyes stay closed, let the palms touch at the heart. Thank you for tuning in. Thank yourself for doing this practice, for being present to your own needs, your own self. On an inhale, we're lifting the thumbs to our third eye centered right between the eyebrows. And as we exhale, we'll bow together. Namaste. Thanks, Yinsters.